Hello everyone, my name is Jordan Waymeyer and I'm here to talk to you about the basics and importance of grammar. Right now I'd like my audience to come up. Okay, two. Alright, go ahead and sit back down. Okay. Grammar is used in everyday life. Grammar helps us communicate, it helps us share our ideas, and it also is very useful in our workplace. I like to start with the basics first. We're going to go with subjective verb agreement. The rule in subject verb agreement is that the subject and the verb have to agree. If the subject is singular, then the verb must be singular. And if the subject is plural, then the verb must be plural. An example of a singular sentence would be the dog chased the cat. An example of a plural would be the dogs chased the cats. Next, we have pronoun case. The case of a pronoun which indicates whether the pronoun initiates the action, which would be subjective, or receives the action, which would be objective. An example of subjective would be Bill and I cracked the window. The example of objective would be they threw snowballs at Dolores and me. Next, we have phrases and clauses. A phrase is something that does not have a subject or a verb. There are 4 different types of phrases. We have prepositional, participle, gerund, and infinitive. An example of prepositional is above the lake. An example of participle would be running down the street. An example of gerund would be flying above the lake. And an example of infinitive would be to release a report. Next, we have clause. Clause has a subject and a verb. There are 2 different types of clauses. We have dependent and independent. A dependent clause breaks down into 2. Which would be the restrictive dependent clause and the non-restrictive dependent clause. Now, an example of restrictive dependent clause would be several people who have counseled the governor on the pending vacancy said that Kennedy has emerged as a clear front runner. An example of non-restrictive dependent clause would be Richie, whose career has never scaled the same heights since was mobbed outside the theater by a gaggle of paparazzi. Okay, for the independent clause, we have the ice melted. Okay, next we're going to talk about punctuation. Punctuation is very important. If you do not use the right punctuation while you are writing or documenting a report, the person will not know when to stop to read, if the sentence keeps going, or if there's any quotes. Okay, spelling. Spelling is also very important. Stuff is misspelled all the time, and people do not understand stuff that is misspelled because then they try to put their own word into it when it's not really theirs. Okay, an example is if you go to the doctor and everybody knows the doctor has their own type of writing and they misspell a word and they give you a prescription, you take it to the pharmacist, you give it to him. If the pharmacist does not know how to read it because the spelling is wrong, most likely he'll give you the wrong prescription other than what the doctor prescribed. See, that way leaving the person really screwed over because he did not get the right prescription. Now, a verb. A verb is what you do, like running, playing basketball, anything like that. It's pretty simple. Alright. Next, I would like to talk about the importance. Okay, grammar is very important. It helps us communicate. If you do not know how to communicate through grammar, you will not know what's going on or what you have to do. Okay, in a workplace, grammar is really important to understand what people are saying. If you don't understand your co-workers, the flow of the workplace does not work. It slows down. An example of that is that when you go for an interview, they give you a paper to fill out. Now, when the person that's giving the interview gets the paper, he or she is judging you on how you wrote. So if your writing or spelling and grammar is off, most likely that will take points off of you getting the job. Now, another example how grammar works, it works good in being social. Now, a lot of people judge a person how they talk if they do not have the right grammar. They pretty much judge you on your maturity level. So if it's talking through phone and you misspell a word and everybody has now auto text and you still write it without auto text, they'll pretty much think that you're really not educated, and nobody likes nobody that's educated. So in conclusion, grammar is very important. It helps in everyday life, and that's pretty much it. And I'd like the people to come up again. Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, go back. And we are